Hello, and welcome to this space. Yeah, so I do get a lot of questions from radiographers, especially back in Nigeria, and a lot of times they're in my DMs. I have so many messages, and sometimes, for those that have access to call me, they could call me, and we could talk about it. And it's usually about they're scanning, or they're doing ultrasound, but they're very scared about doing ultrasound in the UK because they are scared that any mistake that they make, it could literally lead to getting you struck off the register. And that is usually something of fear, among this group of radiographers sometimes. And so they just need clarification where that is concerned. Um, and I try to, explain to them how it works, which is why I'm actually doing this video, because I want to explain how it works and literally, tell you how you can actually make mistakes without it getting to the point where you have to be struck off the register. Okay, so my name is Rajuno. I am a Nigerian trained sonographer, but I'm practicing in the UK currently. And I have started this YouTube channel because I want to help as many, radiographers as possible, provide insights, provide tips, provide how to do certain things as a sonographer in the UK, and some insights and tips about even being a radiographer in the UK. So you are welcome to this space. And if you do get any value from this, please do not forget to subscribe. I need you to subscribe, to like, to share this video. I'm a very busy person. So, subscribing, liking, all these kind of things will motivate me to keep doing it. Okay. All right. So let's get right into it. Making mistakes in the UK as a sonographer. Now, in my experience, it is inevitable. It's not even possible. It's inevitable that you will make mistakes in your practice as a sonographer, whether you're in Nigeria, whether you're in the UK or in any other country in the world. At some point in time in your career, you will make a mistake here and there. Now, it's what you do when you make these mistakes now that count. That is the most important bit. Now, so I will give you an instance. So I'll work with an example, and then we can, get to the points and touch on that. I'll give you an instance. For instance, now you have a patient, right? You have patients. You have a full list of patients. So you have patients that are waiting for you, and you're supposed to scan them. And so one of the patients has been called in. They're getting ready on the couch. You're probably trying to finish up your report. Your assistant is with the patient, and normally your assistant would do the ID check of the patient. So the ID checks is usually 3 steps. You do the name, you do address, you do date of birth. So your assistant normally would do the ID checks for the patient, and so you're finishing up. And so when you finish, you stand up. You want to go and scan the patient. Now, the right thing to do is for you to also do the ID check yourself. It's a fail-safe mechanism, because that way, if the assistant has made a mistake, you can pick up on that mistake. If you've made a mistake, let's say you did the ID check first, the assistant comes and does her own or his own ID check. If you've made a mistake, the assistant can pick it up. So it's a fail-safe mechanism to prevent, the mistake of having to scan the wrong patient on the wrong ID that's on the system. Um, so so let's say the assistant has done the ID check in your head. You believe the assistant has done that. So you stand up, you want to go and scan the patient, and then for some reason you forget to do the ID check too. Or you do it, but you don't do the full thing, right? You say, so you're scanning, you're standing there, you introduce yourself, and then you now say, what's your name? And then the patient tells you, oh, I am so and so, I'm Jane Doe. And you look at the system, and actually it's the name on the system. And so you just carry on scanning. You didn't do the date of birth, right? So which means the date of birth could have been different. What's on the system and what the patient says might not match, but you assume that your assistant has done it. You trust she's done it properly, so you carry on a scan. And then when you're done with the scan, let's say you did an abdominal scan for the patient. When you're done with the scan, you're coming to report, and then you now realize that on your list there are 2 patients that have exactly the same name. So that's one pointer, and then you're like, wow, okay, could this have been a mistake? So what's the date of birth? And so you say, okay, I did an abdominal examination for this person, so let me look. The person that I thought I was doing was supposed to have done a pelvic scan, right? So what's the date of birth? And then somehow in all of this, you now realize that you actually scanned the wrong patient, did the wrong body part examination maybe, and the scan images of that patient went to another person's details. So you probably scan same name, different dates of birth, different addresses, but this person was supposed to be, the person you actually scanned was supposed to be for a pelvic scan, but you did an abdominal scan for that person, and the abdominal scan is now appearing on the person who actually needed abdominal scan, but that's not the same patient. I hope I'm not confusing you. The bottom line is you scanned the wrong patient, and the images are on the ID of another person. That's the bottom line. So you now realize that you've made this mistake. Now, the first thing that you do, it is what you do after the mistake that really, really counts. Making the mistake is not good. You should try not to make the mistake. But after you've made it, you've made it. The world is not going to come crashing. You've already made it. You can't kill yourself. What you need to do now, the first thing you do is acknowledge that you've made the mistake. That's the first thing you do. Now that you've acknowledged that you've made the mistake, the next thing that you want to do now is to look for ways that you can try to correct that mistake, right? You want to correct the mistake. You don't want you want to see what you can do to change the situation. So the first thing you do, you get your assistant, you try to let her know, oh, I have made a mistake, or I think we made a mistake and we scanned the wrong patient. We didn't do the ID check properly. What can we do? So you start thinking, you now look through your records. Where is that patient going back to? Has the patient already left the department? If the patient has not left the department, fine and good. You bring the patient back in. You guys can try to sort it out from there. If the patient has already left the department, where did the patient go to? Did the patient go to the ward? You think about that. Is the patient left the hospital entirely? You want to find that out. If the patient has gone back to the ward, say it was an inpatient, so what you're trying to do at that point is try to call the ward now. So it's either you get your assistant to do or you do it yourself. If I'll say try and do it yourself, so you're sure that it's been done. So you try to get your you try to call the ward as quickly as possible, because don't forget you have other patients, right? So you want to try to call the ward and tell them, oh, for your patient who just had a scan, there's been a bit of a mix-up. Is it possible to have the patient come down? I think we did, you don't even need to talk too much. There's been a bit of mix-up. Can the patient come down? If they ask for more details, then you can go into it. We did an abdominal scan for her when we should have done a pelvic scan because of the ID mix-up. We're trying to correct that. Please, can you have the patient come down? If that patient has gone home, so you're now looking for the front desk, or you're looking for the admin office, or within your department, if you've got the contact number of that patient there, you're using the department's phone. It's more advisable to use the department's phone and not your mobile phone. So you call the patient and say, oh, I understand that you may have left the hospital. There's been a bit of mix-up with your examination. Is it possible that you could come back and we can see if we can try to, sort that out? If the patient says, oh, I can't come back, oh, I've already left, I'm going for another appointment, you say that's fine. But you try to look through your list, try to see when you can arrange with that patient to come back, fit them back into your list and try to have them scanned, or speak with the booking team to try to rebook them so they can come. So the first thing you're going to want to do is try to correct the error as soon as possible. Now, for everything you're doing, keep track of it. You have to document it, right? So if you've called the ward, you're going to put it down that you have called the ward to bring them back. Just in case the ward does not bring them back, or you've really tried and the ward is refusing to bring them back, it's on record that you tried to bring them back and the ward did not bring them back. But usually they would, because they want the result for the abdomen, for the pelvis and not the abdomen anyway. So that mix-up is not in their favor. Okay, so now the second thing that you do is to, so you've made the mistake already, you're trying to correct it, you've put measures, you've tried to, bring the patient back. The second thing that you want to do is report this case by yourself, right? So you want to write an email to your manager, sometimes with IT, but usually it's the manager that gets through to IT for you, because of two things. Now, you have the wrong patients, you have this patient's images on the wrong ID, on another patient's ID. So what you want is to report this so that it can facilitate, the quick move. IT would be able to take those images from the wrong location, basically, and put them under the right images, for the right person. Because otherwise, a mix-up like that could be really bad, So you want to report it yourself to your manager. So you're going to send, it's usually better to do it in an email, and then you can back it up with a verbal communication. So you want to send an email to your manager saying, oh, I did make this mistake and there was an error. Unfortunately, I have scanned, this patient on the wrong ID, and I have done the wrong body part examination. I just wanted to let you know, is there anything that I need to do? I have tried. So you let them know what you've tried to do. I have tried to call the patient back to see if I can rescan the patient. The patient is either on the way or the patient could not come. So I've tried to rebook it. I've told the booking team to do this, So just outline the situation. Let your manager be aware, because the sooner they are aware, the sooner they can do something about it. Prevent further errors from happening based on the first error. Okay, so where there would be an issue now is if you make a mistake like that, and then you realize that you've made a mistake, but you now try to cover it up. Now, that is when you are digging a very sweet pit for yourself. You don't want to do that. So you've made a mistake. The last thing on your mind should be to cover it up. You've made a mistake, acknowledge it. Try to solve it. You can't solve it by yourself a lot of times because your assistant needs to be aware, So try to solve it and then try to report it and tell your manager what else they need you to do. Now, if they need you to do something else, they will let you know. So usually so the third thing, after you have reported it to your manager, they'll either tell you to do this, but even if they don't tell you to do this, you should know to do it. The next thing you should do is to 𝐷𝐇𝐎𝐒 it. So there's something we call 𝐷𝐇𝐎𝐒. 𝐷𝐇𝐎𝐒 is a form. So we have a 𝐷𝐇𝐎𝐒 form. It might have different variations of names for different hospitals, but across the board, usually it's called a 𝐷𝐇𝐎�e. So you have a 𝐷𝐇𝐎𝐒 form on your system, normally in your hospital system. And that form is there for incidences like this, mishaps like this. Now you're going to fill that form without any bias whatsoever. And you're going to put your name, put your details, put everything, explain what happened. You're going to fill the names of witnesses. So the witness in this case would be your assistant. So you're going to fill the names of witnesses. You're going to, you're just detailing. There will be questions that you're just going to answer them as it happened. Now, the idea of this is what it does, as soon as you fill that form and you submit it, it sends that form to all the relevant management that need to know about the fact that, an error like this has happened. It can be anything. It's not just this kind of example that I've given. Any kind of incidences. The patient fell down, when you were scanning the patient, you fill that form, because if the management is aware, they know how to manage that patient now based on what the additional thing that has happened to the patient. So in this case now, scanning the wrong patient on the wrong ID, everybody is informed about it. So you are doing everything that you need to do as a professional who has made a mistake. You're acknowledging it. You're not hiding it. You're looking for the best way to correct it so that that patient can be properly managed where possible. The images can be in the right place, because if the images are in the wrong place, it can lead to misdiagnosis. It can lead to, saying that someone has got something that they have not got, and it can become messy really quickly. So you want to avoid all of that. So in a nutshell, if you make a mistake, don't hide it, acknowledge it, and don't hide it, report it through all the basic channels, emailing your manager, 𝐷𝐇𝐎𝐒, and any other additional departmental protocol that you have. This way, you are sort of buffered, you're sort of covered, because you're not trying to be deceitful, you're not trying to to deceive anyone or, you know, mislead anyone, you know, over a mistake that you made. Instead, you have the patient's interest at heart. You're doing everything in your power to try to help the situation. Okay, now there are mistakes and there are mistakes. These are the kind of mistakes that when you make, you do your best to try to avoid. There are certain mistakes that you really should not be caught doing, you know. And you know, mistakes like repeated, you know, negligence, or you know, sexually harassing your colleague or your patient, you know, saying sexual stuff towards them. Those kind of mistakes can escalate really quickly, and before you know it, the different regulatory bodies are involved, and they can, you know, it can lead to actually being struck off. It really depends, you know. But for this kind of everyday mistakes, if you don't go out of your way to try to correct them and try to report them, if you try to hide them, then you're on the fast track to actually getting your name struck off the register, you know, or being in serious issues with management, or being in serious issues with, you know, the regulatory bodies, you know, if you're trying to hide stuff. So don't do that, you know. So I think that's about it, really, about mistakes, you know, what you can do about them and how to avoid getting in big issues where that is concerned. So I do have, I'm going to drop a link in my bio below where you can see on my website the article I have written about the different things that I wish I knew before coming to the UK as a sonographer. You know, these are the kind of things that would help you, because it kind of just prepares your mind as to what you're really expecting. So you already know how to conduct yourself and the kind of things that you need to do, just so you don't fall into avoidable mistakes or avoidable issues. You know, it can help you. So try to follow the link, check it out. And then I should be doing a video soon on, you know, the kind of mistakes that you're very likely to make in your practice here as a sonographer, you know, that a lot of people make, just so you understand that you're not alone, and it's not, sonography is not that, it's not that rigid in the UK the way it is perceived to be, basically. Okay, so like I said, I'm a very busy person. For I'm a very busy person. So subscribing to this channel, liking, sharing, commenting, all these things are really encouraging for me, and you know, that encourage me to keep doing more of it. If it was any value to you, don't forget to subscribe and share. Okay, so thank you very much for watching my my video, the new channel, and I hope to see more of you guys. All right, have a good one. Take care.